Very good morning, guys. As I had promised in my last session that I will make the ITGC detailed videos, like what are the modules of the ITGC. So here is your request completion. So first one is the access and data controls. Here the question arises that what is access and how is it different from the data controls. Access means the logical access. Now, what are the logical access? Logical access are those credentials which are generally used in software or applications which are hosted in an organizations. Now, next question arises, what are data controls? Data controls are those appropriate controls which ensures this is a kind of safeguard of our data which prevents us from the external intruders. Now the question arises, what needs to be checked if organization ask us to audit the access and data controls module. So first we have to check that what are the policies and procedures does organization is following. Second is the user access provisioning and deprovisioning, means during onboarding of the candidate, that what are the access given to the fresh coming associates, and during offboarding what are the access termination point of time or something like that during the offboarding of the candidates. Third one is a periodic access review, means such kind of accesses which are used by the vendors, which are used by the normal users and the administrator, and an independent auditor should be review such kind of access at least once in a quarter. Next is the password requirement, means during processing, this might sometimes happen that customer or client has asked us to some modifications under the password which are currently existing in the organization. So such if so we have to first test that requirement in an UAT environment, whether all the applications are accepting such password strength or the password related authentications, or we can say that is this new password requirements is creating some kind of minor and silly gaps in the organization or not. So in this situation we have to accept the requirement. However, before implementing we have to ensure that such passwords will be accepting by our all the softwares which are existing in the organizations. Next is the SOD part. SOD is a segregation of duties, means one person should be I mean one person is handling a kind of minimum department. If we take an example of the password related, for example, one person is handling how to create the password, second person is reviewing that particular one. That is this will be managed by the second person, and the third person who will be the approval of such policies. So different persons will be is actually managing the different departments here, because if we assigning the particular creation of the password or a reviewing of the password and approval of the password to a single person, then surely there will be high chances of doing the mistakes. And the next one is the encryptions part. Such password policies and such data which are applicable over the uh, over the organization, we can say. So such content should be in encrypted form from the server level as well and from the network point of view as well. Next is the audit logs. Such password and all the organization logs should be audited regularly, at least once in a quarter. This is recommended from the I can say expert level from the OEM side. And if any suspicious things auditor will found, then he or she has to raise the security incident against the associates. Next is the SDLC. SDLC is a software development life cycles. So SDLC comes in picture when client has asked us to implement and developed, firstly developed and then implement a new software for the organization. So during the processing, first we have to check the change management procedures. Second is the authorization, development, implementation, testing, approvals, and the documentations part. Third is the configuration management. Means if we are changing any kind of changes in the configuration, then a kind of change should be raised in the ticketing tool and should be monitored by the individuals. Fourth is the emergency changes. Emergency changes means sometimes any incident may happen and this will create the higher impact in the organization part. So to avoid the further impact, we have an options to implement the change which is known as the emergency changes. So this will take ideally very less time, and having a very bypass kind of change approvals here. For example, one person will create the change, second will review the change, and the third one will approve the change, and finally present to the client. Once approval will be given by the client side, the changes should be implemented. Next is the data migration and version controls. Means if client has requested to migrate the data, then certain impact may happen, and during this period we have to ensure that if we are switching the data from one phase to another phase, the change should be raised. And apart from this, if we are switching the version of the softwares and going to the higher version, then that higher version should be first tested in the UAT environment, and change ticket should be raised and sharing to the higher management. Next is the post changes implementation testing and reviews. This is very very normal that after completion all the things, testing and user reviews should be taken. Last is the computer operations. Means what are the components comes under the computer operations. So first one is the batch job processing. In the batch job processing, for example, the latest agents which are released by the OEM side, for example, from the Microsoft side. So we have to keep our organization very up to date. So we have to implement those patches, or patches which are released by the OEM side, and we have to push those patches in our organization's assets. Now the question arises, how can we push? So there is an individual software or solution come called as SCCM. So we have to push all those patches in our organization assets. So but some points we have to keep in mind, that what is the monitoring, how many patches are going to be success and how many patches are going to be failures, because sometimes some users or some assets might be off at that particular moment during the pushing of the assets. So we have to monitor, and how many assets are not accepting, or not due to some technical reasons they have not accepted the patches. So such assets list should be comes in picture, and we have to reattempt later on. Next is the backup and recovery modules. If we talk about the backup, then the very critical data which are created by the organization, and actually which are consumable for the organization, and we can say which is actually needed in the near futures by the organization. So in this period of time, we have to take the backup of that data in our library, I mean the tape library, and later on this tape library should be submitted to the client after the retention period. So we have to also review the policies and the procedure of backup. Next is the incident handling and problem management. So this is a very generic incident, because without incident, I mean to say incident is very basic thing which may happen anytime. So if incident is happening, we have to ensure that the ticket should be raised and should be tracked by an individual so that the weakness or gap should not re-happen again. If the same incident is happening again and again, then organization have to raise the problem ticket, and the technical team have to fix that particular issue. So last is the DR and CBP. Actually, this is BCP. This is not CBP. This is actually BCP. Apologize for the same. I had already made a brief session on DR and BCP part. Um, if you want, you can refer those videos as well. I will provide the link in the description part. Now, here also, I will brief you once again. DR is a disaster recovery and BCP is a business continuity planning. So DR is a disaster recovery, means once our data center will go down uh, for any reasons, for example, any kind of major earthquake or any kind of a tsunami. So we had made we had made the cl cl clone of the data centers, which is acting as an DR. So we can say that disaster recovery site is the duplicate of the data center having same kind of a features. And BCP is the third site, we can say, that is the business continuity business business continuity planning. Means what are the confidential data, what is I mean very important from the organization point of view should we keep under the BCP site. So this is all about the ITGC modules, friends. If you found any confusions, any help required, then I would request you to raise the questions in the comment box. Uh, Thanks for watching.